just while we get to the right slide, I'm just going to give you a real monument stopgap tour of the planning system, just as a primer, and Angela, who will then follow up, will be able to talk about some case studies with much more detail. Can we start with the first slide? So in terms of the planning system in the UK, the planning system is there to ensure that the right development happens at the right place at the right time, in order to benefit the communities and the communities where the development is based, and the economy. If you look at the planning system, it really is like zooming in on a map, and the planning system broadly works in three levels. First, at the national government, the national government sets out how planning works. So all the laws that operate, all the standards, and all the processes that that planners need to follow throughout the country. And recently, the government has introduced a new bill that is meant to streamline the system, and simplify and streamline the planning system in order to facilitate the delivery of leveling up goals as per the government's agenda. In London, we also have a regional level, which is the Greater London Authority. The London Mayor is responsible for producing a strategic plan, which sets out some guidance for local plans in all of London's boroughs. And it also includes plans and strategies for issues affecting multiple boroughs at the same time, such as transport. At a local level is where a lot of the planning work happens. So your local council is in charge of producing a local plan, processing planning applications, as well as enforcing planning decisions. When it comes to the local plan is a set of documents that have all the spatial strategies that will guide any decisions when it comes to a planning application. These documents, there is usually a central local plan, which is reviewed every 5 to 7 years. And that plan is examined by the local government to ensure that it meets 4 key tests. One, that it aims to meet the area's objective needs. So the local council needs to study the requirements and the future development needs of the area. 2, that there is a logical link between the needs it has identified and the methods and policies and projects that it proposes. 3, that it is effective and that it will be delivered in time within the plan cycle, the local plan's lifetime. And 4, that it is consistent with national and, in London's case, regional policy as well. As I said, these local plans are the basis for any planning application. So as we go on, can we move on to the planning application slide, please? But that's fine. So planning applications have a set process and fairly strict timelines to follow. And really, the work on a planning application can start even before the application goes into the local council. Usually, pre-application stage is best considered for larger, more complex developments. It's not a compulsory step, but a developer can choose to have informal meetings with the local council to get some guidance, confirm what documentation they need to deliver, they need to submit with their planning application, and any sort of potential hiccups that might happen in the development process. Once an application is ready, it can be submitted via the planning portal or even through printed paper documents. The council will during it, and which means that it goes into its tracking system, and that's usually when all the timelines begin. Once an application is registered, it will be published or publicized in various channels, usually the local press, definitely the planning website for the council, and any other channels that the council deems necessary for public consultation. This public consultation lasts a minimum of 21 days, although this can be extended for particularly complex cases. This is also a time where a council can choose to refer a case to the GLA, which we can talk about a bit later. This consultation stage is where members of the public, anyone really, can submit any statements in support of or objecting to a planning application. And any objection must be based on what is called a material consideration. Once the consultation, could we go back to the slide for this last bit? Once the consultation is complete, and sometimes even throughout it, a planning officer in the council will evaluate the application against planning policy, so the local plan, as well as anything relevant from the national and regional levels, and take into account statements made against and in support of development. Now, next slide, please. And this is where the planning officer will have a recommendation. In most cases are decided by planning officers. These are about 80–90% of cases under what we call delegated powers, which means that in order to keep the system simple, there is the assumption that planning officers have the professional experience and the enough expertise to make a decision. Some cases, however, can be called into the planning committee, which is a group of councillors who will then decide on whether or not to approve or reject a planning application. Planning officers still make a recommendation, and that's the basis of what the committee says, what the committee discusses. And these meetings are often recorded, and members of the public may attend these committees and at times speak briefly. Now, within 8 or 13 weeks of registration, again, this depends on the complexity of the case, a decision should be publicized and communicated with all parties involved. And there's 3 potential outcomes. The first outcome is that the planning application is approved as is. The second outcome, is that the planning application is approved with conditions. So this would be minor edits to the plan development. Or as a third option, the planning application is rejected outright. So in the first 2 cases, the developer can choose, or the applicant, I should say, can choose to just proceed with what they want to do. In the latter 2 cases, the applicant can appeal the decision, in which case it would go to the planning inspectorate for another round of analysis and another decision. Or if the applicant decides to, they can make a new application after making some adjustments. I mentioned the GLA referral earlier. There are cases that may need to be referred to for decisions, or at least opinion, by the GLA. This does affect the timeline for decisions, and the reasons for a case to be referred to the GLA will vary. It can be because of the number of houses that are part of a development, the general size, or maybe its effect on infrastructure, such as waste management or transportation demand. So this would be a very quick overview of the planning system, and the planning application
Thank you
process,
for
but I hope
watching this
you found it
video.
useful.
This guide was produced as part of a series of workshops on elements of the planning system. To find out more, or if you want us to deliver this full-length workshop for your organisation, please get in touch with us at planningaidforlondon.org.uk. Thanks very much. Bye.